Have you ever stood in front of a mirror wearing something brand new and felt a strange mix of pride and immediate regret? It's a common phenomenon in our modern world, a psychological trap that we've all fallen into at least once or twice. Today, we are exploring the impulse gap, that dangerous space between wanting something and actually needing it for your own life. There's a famous quote often attributed to Dave Ramsey: "We buy things we don't need with money we don't have." But the most biting part of that sentence is the end: to impress people we don't even like, which is a tragedy. Think about your last major purchase. Was it driven by a genuine internal necessity or a desire for external validation from others? In a world dominated by social media, our lives have become a constant performance, a highlight reel for a digital audience. We see someone's level 10 life and feel like our level 1 beginning is somehow inadequate or failing the standard. This leads us to the impulse gap, where logic is replaced by the fleeting golden shimmer of a temporary dopamine hit. Neuroscientists tell us that the anticipation of buying something actually releases more dopamine than the act of owning the item itself. We are essentially addicted to the hunt, the scrolling, and the clicking, rather than the utility of the product we receive. This creates a cycle where the new becomes old almost instantly, forcing us to look for the next hit of excitement. But why do we feel the need to impress people we don't even like? The answer lies deep within our evolutionary past. Historically, status within a tribe meant survival. If you were seen as valuable, you were protected and fed by the group. In the 21st century, we've traded spears and furs for designer handbags and the latest high-tech smartphones to signal our status. We use these Veblen goods, items where demand increases as the price increases, to show the world where we sit in the hierarchy. But the irony is that the people we are trying to impress are usually too busy trying to impress us back. It is a room full of people shouting for attention while nobody is actually listening to what anyone else has to say. We sacrifice our financial freedom, our peace of mind, and our future security just to win a game that has no ending. In his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman describes System 1 thinking as emotional, fast, and often very irrational. When you see a limited time offer, your System 1 brain screams buy because it fears the pain of missing out. We are being manipulated by marketing experts who know exactly how to trigger our deepest insecurities and our social anxieties. They sell us a lifestyle, a feeling, and a version of ourselves that is better simply because we own their specific brand. But once the box is opened and the packaging is discarded, the better version of ourselves usually looks exactly the same. We are left with the same problems, the same insecurities, and now a significantly smaller balance in our savings or checking accounts. The impulse gap is where your true wealth goes to die, sacrificed on the altar of "what will they think of me?" True wealth is actually what you don't see. It's the cars not purchased and the luxury watches left sitting in the store. Morgan Housel notes in The Psychology of Money that spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less. It sounds simple, yet we struggle with it daily because the social pressure to conform is an incredibly powerful human force. We feel a keeping up with the Joneses pressure, even when the Joneses are deep in debt and living paycheck to paycheck. We are essentially competing to see who can look the richest while actually becoming the poorest in terms of liquid capital. The impulse gap is widened by the ease of modern commerce. A one-click buy is the enemy of the thoughtful, intentional consumer. When there's no friction between a desire and a transaction, we lose the ability to ask the critical question, why? Why do I want this? Will this item actually improve the quality of my daily life 6 months from this very moment? If the answer is, I want people to see me with it, then you are buying a costume, not a tool for living. Costumes are expensive and they require a constant upgrade to keep the audience interested in your performance and your persona. Let's talk about the Diderot effect, named after the French philosopher who fell into a spiral of consumption after buying a robe. He received a beautiful scarlet robe as a gift, but then felt his other possessions were too tawdry to match its elegance. He bought a new chair, then a new rug, then a new table, eventually spiraling into debt to match one single item. One impulse purchase often leads to another as we try to create a cohesive image of success that we can't afford. We become slaves to our possessions, working hours we hate to pay for things we don't use to impress people we don't like. This is the definition of a rat race, where the prize is just a bigger cage and more stress to manage every day. To bridge the impulse gap, we need to reintroduce friction into our spending habits and give our logical brains time to work. The 72-hour rule is a simple but revolutionary tool. If you want something, you must wait 3 full days before buying. In those 72 hours, the dopamine levels drop, the emotional heat fades, and you can see the purchase for what it is. Most of the time, after 3 days, you'll find that the must-have item has lost its luster and its perceived importance. We also need to define what enough looks like for us personally, rather than letting the internet define it for us. Enough is a moving target if you keep looking at others, but it is a steady anchor if you look at your values. Do you value experiences, freedom, and time, or do you value the weight of physical objects and the approval of strangers? There's a profound quietness that comes with not needing to prove anything to anyone through your spending or your clothes. When you stop caring about the people you don't like, you suddenly have a lot more money for the people you actually love. You can invest in your children's future, your own retirement, or causes that actually make a difference in the real world. You shift from being a consumer to being an owner, a subtle but powerful shift in your entire financial identity. Owners look for value and long-term growth. Consumers look for the next shiny thing to fill a void in their soul. The impulse gap is often a symptom of an internal lack of confidence that we try to fix with external acquisitions. But you cannot buy self-worth at a department store, and you cannot find lasting happiness in a cardboard shipping box. Happiness is found in the flow, in meaningful work, and in deep connections that don't depend on what brand you're wearing. Let's look at the math of the impulse gap. A $100 impulse buy today is actually much more expensive than it looks. If that $100 were invested for 30 years at a 7% return, it would grow to be nearly $800 in your future. Every time you buy something you don't need, you are literally stealing from your older self and your future security. You are trading your future freedom for a momentary flash of looking cool in front of people who don't care. It's time to stop the bleeding and start building a life that feels good on the inside, not just looks good. Start by auditing your subscriptions and your automatic spending that drains your wealth without you even noticing the loss. Look at your home and identify the items that were bought in the impulse gap, the things gathering dust and regret. Let those items be a lesson, a visual reminder of the cost of trying to perform for an invisible and fickle audience. When you go out, practice the art of JOMO, the joy of missing out on the latest trends and the latest gadgets. Feel the power in saying, I can afford that, but I choose not to buy it because I value my peace. Financial peace isn't about how much you make, it's about the gap between what you make and what you spend. By shrinking the impulse gap, you widen the freedom gap, the amount of money you have to live life on your terms. Imagine a life where a surprise car repair or a medical bill doesn't cause a panic because you have a solid cushion. That security is far more impressive than any luxury car or designer watch could ever be to a rational person. We are moving toward a more intentional future, where we value sustainability and quality over mass-produced quantity and clutter. Be the person who is rich in time, rich in relationships, and rich in the security of knowing their future is safe. The next time you feel that itch to buy something for the wrong reasons, remember the impulse gap and just walk away. Your future self is waiting there, thanking you for the discipline, the wisdom, and the freedom you are building today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel and master the strategies needed to build genuine, lasting financial wealth, and I will see you soon.